What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Front Runner Show. And today we have a special segment called Creator Deep Dive, where we are going to pick a creator and dive deeper into their journey, their story, and everything that we find cool and interesting. Today we are going to talk about Casey Neistat. Casey is back. Did you see his latest vlog?
I did. I saw his latest vlog where he came back to New York. He took us to a tour of what he's seeing. And what was for me very interesting was that, there are a lot of people who recognized him.
Right.
And then they sort of, and the fact that they're congratulating him to saying that, hey, welcome back to sort of New York. It felt like home, right?
Yeah.
It felt like how probably you would come back to your like hometown, or you go back to your like relatives' place and everybody talks about you. And that's how it felt. It felt like he has completely owned the city and he has like friends everywhere. And yeah, I thought it was really cool.
Yeah.
For the sake of the audience, I never really followed Casey Neistat, and I got discovered about Casey Neistat only through Thousand Faces Club and the folks who work there. And now I'm slowly getting accustomed to his world. Yeah.
No, I mean, we were having this conversation before recording that, so I have been following Casey since he had maybe 50,000 subscribers. So like a long time ago.
Right.
I remember when his iPod video first came out and that went viral. And yeah, I've been following for almost a decade, I feel. I've grown up with his content, which is quite an interesting relationship to have with a creator. But I think he tweeted about this, and I found this very fascinating, that his videos, if you watch it since the beginning, right, they are exactly the same as they are today, which I feel is very unique to his creator personality and the way that he tells stories, which I have never seen anyone else do that, right? Usually people start off and they suck right in the beginning in some shape or form, and then they kind of grow into their creator persona. But he has been someone who has maintained the same kind of qualities to his videos from day one.
Right. That's because he wanted to be a filmmaker, and I think he is a filmmaker, right? So I think he's brought a lot of that to YouTube, which otherwise, generally or usually in YouTube, authenticity is being very raw, not being candid is what we perceived it that way. If you had seen a decade back, there were a lot of this YouTubers who would just open up their webcam and start talking about it. I think even today, Emma Chamberlain sort of has that sort of a style. But I think Casey said that, hey, authenticity doesn't need to be as raw, but it can still be a little bit sort of scripted. I still feel there's a lot of his videos, though it feels authentic, it has a lot of work that goes into it. For example, he sets the camera at some position and then he sort of skates into it. That's a lot of work. First, that goes, even though it feels natural, but that's a lot of work to set that. So he's setting up a stage, where that authenticity can thrive. And I think that's very sort of unique to Casey.
Right.
I have a feeling that he's given a new flavor to the idea of vlogs, where before him, probably people were just talking in front of the webcam.
Right.
What do you think?
Yeah, no, totally. I think for one of our previous Frontrunner episodes, I was doing some research, right? And one thing, I saw the episode where he was ending the vlog. That was where he was talking about, okay, the vlog has ended. And he says something that's so profound, right? He says that my vlogs have never been a way for me to share my personal life. I don't want to do that. My vlogs are just a story. And when I saw that, I went back and saw a few of his episodes, and it made so much sense. His wife, Candice, his kids, everyone you can look at as a character in his vlogs, right? They are just the supporting roles. It's not about them. It's just about his story, whatever he's doing that day. It might be going from New York to halfway across the world, or South Africa, or testing out a new product, or whatever that he's doing. That's the story, and everything else is just surrounding it, which I feel is distinctly different than what you would imagine a vlog to be like, right? All the other vlogs, that there's so few vloggers that don't follow the same generic path of, hey, this is what I'm doing today. I woke up. This is what we are doing. So many of the other vlogs that I've tried to follow, let's say Flying Beast, or there is, I think, one Saurav Joshi, or even on the Western YouTubers, it's just the style is so different. And a lot of times, even I have tried vlogging, right? It becomes about like your personal story, and then you're just taking people with you. But with Casey, when you like deconstruct it, it's not that. Like, he's not telling you his personal story. He does not want to share what he's up to, what he's doing. It's just about like the story that he picked out that day, like the setup, the conflict, and the resolution. That's what all it's about. And I feel like that paired with his intensity is what makes him so unique. Because everyone else who's good, right? Let's say a David Dobrik or a Johnny Harris or all of these other people have been copied in some shape or form. But Casey Neistat is the one person that, at least in my knowledge, no one has copied his style. Because you can copy like one or two videos, but to copy like the feel that you get out of his videos, you need to do that every single day.
Right.
Which, it's very difficult. Like, I've tried vlogging, and it's a very difficult thing to do.
Right. I have a very interesting sort of metaphor to compare this. Like, and I've said this to multiple people also. Let's assume that you're looking at a YouTube video about how to make an omelette. Like, imagine you're watching a chef in US making this great omelette, and he's sharing his recipe to you. You know, you could get all the ingredients. You could get the same ingredients or the same quality ingredients. But what you will not be able to replicate is the experience of the pan.
Right.
Of the pan, right? So even for him, like, if he tries to make it in a slightly different pan, it might not taste the same, right? For a pan to sort of achieve that experience, you know, it has gone through the journey of like a year or two making so many omelettes, right? That is very difficult to sort of replicate. Like, so for example, if Casey Neistat is sort of sharing his story or journey, or his storytelling style has evolved in a certain manner, that's because of his experience, right? So if you try to replicate it, we might actually fail. But what I find it very interesting is that he's not shying away from showing everybody who he is, right? So for example, you would see a lot of celebrities just in front of the camera. They might be a slightly different person because they're a little bit conscious, or they don't want that certain part of like their life to be shown and stuff like that. And after a point, you feel like a lot of these celebrities, even though they might be giving authentic answer, you feel it's scripted, right? So here, I think he's embracing who he is. And it could be his vulnerabilities. It could be like, you know, his strengths, or it could be stuff that might not necessarily make him look like a hero. And that is why today, when he's like sort of going around in New York, people are very happily walking up to him and sort of coming to him and like saying hi, hello, and they sort of feel like one of his neighborhood people.
Yeah, no, I mean, now that you say it, the relatability factor is always there.
Yeah.
Like, if you think about it, he's a professional filmmaker. He's probably a millionaire. He's, you know, all of these things that are not relatable. But he still roams around in a skateboard looking like just another, you know, like a college student maybe. And I mean, to the extent that me sitting in India, like us, right, we often relate to him because you've talked about him before on the show, right? And about how like the relationship he has with the city and how he's able to portray that in his videos. Like, I want to go to New York City only because of him, right? Like, I want to go to 368 and you know, Broadway and all of that. So I think that relatability is always there. And like, you're absolutely right. It's very difficult to achieve because the minute the camera is on, not just you have to be your authentic self, but you have to be cognizant of the fact that people around you may not be, right? So you need to be around a set of people who are okay with being on camera, which he kind of does, right? Like, his family is okay with him recording at this point. Even his friends around him are also in the same industry, which I think adds on to that authenticity, because then they don't have to like shy away from the camera. And you know, like, I have experienced that. Like, when I try to vlog, my parents get a little bit awkward, people around me get a little bit awkward. Like, if you're on the road with the camera, people will look at you weirdly, so you have to overcome that, like, not just the camera shyness, but also the fact that like people are looking at you weirdly, right? So like, even if I'm sitting in a Starbucks, it's very difficult to be normal when people are not treating you that way. But yeah, that's definitely there. And I really found it so fascinating that he came back after, I think he ended the vlogs 3-4 years ago. He came back and he was still relevant, which was so surprising. Like, a lot of other people have stopped vlogging or creating content, right? On a regular basis, at least. if we go back in time, like there's a Jenna Marbles and, more recently David Dobrik and then Casey Neistat and so many other people. Even PewDiePie doesn't make that much content now. And I feel like all of those other people have been in some shape or form overtaken by a new creator, right? In the same niche, in the same genre, but now he's more relevant. He or she is more relevant. That did not happen with Casey. Like when I still think of vlogging and storytelling, I still think of Casey, right? Like when he tweeted that picture out of the thumbnail, okay, like a video is coming up. Like I was so excited, which I don't feel that way with anyone else. Like, do you? I don't know if you follow him on Twitter and you followed like the genesis of his.
I haven't followed his genesis,
comeback.
but what I can sort of gather from the videos that I've seen and also from the people that I've spoken to is that his stories are very relatable, like you said. But if you look at that, has been the case with even with films, right? Good stories about human life have never gone old. Right. So, for example, if you had watched this movie, Life is Beautiful, right? So, Life is Beautiful. Have you seen the movie?
No, I have not.
So, Life is Beautiful is a movie that is set in like the World War II, and it's about like this dad who is sort of taken to the concentration camp, and his son is also there, but he's such a person that he sees life in such a positive manner, right? And he sort of tells the story to the kids, saying that there's everything is right, everything is all right, and stuff like that. Now it's such a powerful film, and it's such a sort of film that shows life in such a good limelight that it has impacted a lot of filmmakers across the world. Even someone from southern industry or South Indian industry, they talk about it a lot. Like, and that's what inspired me to watch that film. And now it has been like 75, 77 years from World War II has sort of ended.
Right.
But I'm just talking about the context, right? In the World War II has ended. Like I've never seen World War II, or I was born at a time when like there was rarely any like great wars, or I didn't have, as a citizen, I didn't feel the panic. But still, the war context might be irrelevant. The father and son relationship that is shown there is very relevant, right? I find that film very beautiful because of the father and son relationship, right? Or even take a film like Titanic, or even now Avatar is re-released, like after I think some 20 years. Like,
oh yeah, that's why it was showing up again. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so Avatar has re-released. I think the first time it was released in 2009.
Right.
And now it's like 2022. 13 years, right? And I think it has actually gotten like so much good response. If you look at James Cameron's movies also, they are grand in scale, but there is also like this very intense story that that keeps it moving, right? So why I'm saying this is because good stories, they withstand like the test of time. Right. So if when Casey is talking about, when he's talking to the children, and when he's having a nice moment with the children, or when he's talking to a friend, or when he's talking to his wife, those are authentic, and those stuff they live. Right. So as compared to like a lot of other people, let's say for example, like Mr. Beast today is making a particular video, and he's like the greatest, let's say, YouTuber who's spending a lot of money and pushing it to a certain scale. Like, what if tomorrow the next YouTuber could make whatever he's making in metaverse? Right? He can do it at like 1/10 of a cost, and he can do it in a much more grand scale.
Right.
Then it wouldn't matter, right? Now you would say, yes, there was a YouTuber called Mr. Beast who used to do similar stuff. Is what like people use. That's how you will see them, right?
Right.
Because these are the stuff that they have a shelf life, but that's very limited.
But yeah, Casey is back. I'm super excited for what he might have in store for us.
Yeah. What are you expecting? What do you think would be? Is it fair to call that this is Casey 2.0?
Maybe. Like now that you say that you noticed a difference in his videos, I did not particularly. But again, it's been a while since I actually went back and watched his videos. I would assume that the break that he took, right, that would have changed him somehow.
Yeah.
And I don't know what his 2.0 version will be like. I'm hoping that it will be as inspiring, if not more, like his Casey 1.0.
Yeah.
Because he's been a force like since the day that I started watching him. And I think as a creator, he's definitely someone that you look up to.
Yeah.
If you've been in YouTube long enough. And I'm just really looking forward to learn more from him.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's so weird. He's he's a high school dropout. He had a kid when he was like 17. All of these things that would quote unquote label you as a failure. But now he's such an incredible storyteller and a filmmaker on YouTube nonetheless. But yeah, definitely look forward to what he has. I don't know what it will be, but learn something from it for sure.
So I've always seen that, people who are like really good at their craft or who are creative, they always try to push the boundaries of stuff that they have already done, right? I would assume that he might not get into another journey of posting every day a vlog, but maybe he wants to push the storytelling itself. And he could be more mindful about it, or he could talk like New York City, but probably can give us like a different perspective, right? And that would be interesting to see. But I've always seen that most successful people push the boundaries of what their craft is to see, and that's what gives them the dopamine hit, right? And to keep going, right? We could appreciate him for what he does and stuff, but he should feel excited every day. He should get up every day and he should say that, yes, I want to do this, right? And whatever makes him like be sleepless, and that's what probably he might do. And I'm also very excited to see what he do.